Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. This is another edition of Fanboys Exposed, and we start with Let's Talk Boxing. Let's Talk Boxing states that Canelo's not number one, Terence Crawford is, and how are you not going to put Errol Spence on the list? He will be number one once he beats Terence Crawford. So let's break that down. He first says Canelo's not number one pound for pound because Crawford is. So we're going to just take that back and debunk that narrative because Terence Crawford is an elite level fighter. He's a special fighter. He was undisputed at 140 pounds. So Terence Crawford is a worthy pound for pound fighter. And you know what? The only thing that separates him and Canelo Alvarez is that Canelo Alvarez has career defining, legacy defining fights. And you know what? He has the big names on his resume. He has the legacy defining names on his resume. It's not Bud Crawford's fault that Errol Spence refuses to fight him, that Shawn Porter, Keith Thurman, Yordenis Ugas, and pretty much all the other top welterweights refuses to fight him. That's not Crawford's fault. But at the end of the day, it's not Canelo's either. He's number one pound for pound. And secondly, to answer your second part is where you saying that Errol Spence will beat Crawford. I don't understand how you can figure that, because if you look at it honestly and objectively, he got dominated against Shawn Porter within the first 6 rounds. Even Keith Thurman stated that he thought Shawn Porter won the first 5 to 6 rounds. How are you going to beat a guy like Terence Bud Crawford and Shawn Porter dominates you for 5 or 6 consecutive rounds? You are a fanboy, and you should change your name to Let's Not Talk Boxing. But let's keep it going. Drama C states, please delete this video. You're just a hater. How is Spence not on the list? And Drama C, I understand you're a resident fanboy for Errol Spence Jr. I get it. You're outraged because, you know, you're a fanboy by nature. You love Errol Spence. You're probably in love with the man for all I know. And so I'm just going to expose and debunk your comment. I'm not a hater of Errol Spence. I'm actually giving him justifiable and unbiased commentary, and the reason why is because he beat a broken Kell Brook, and then he fought a Mikey Garcia, you know, a guy moving up 2 weight classes. You don't get credit for Mikey Garcia to make you a pound for pound fighter, and that's the fight that most people see that made him pound for pound. You get no credit for Mikey. You beat a broken Kell Brook. You get no credit for that. And so then you beat Shawn Porter, but most people view that as a robbery. Even still, with the unification, it's still not enough to crack the top 10, because who do you replace? There's nobody on the list that deserves to be moved out of their spot for Errol Spence Jr. He simply hasn't done enough. He's just hype. And let's keep it going. Thomas Frederick says, if you say Canelo taking titles in different weight divisions should not be a problem to go down in weight to fight Crawford himself. And now, you know, Thomas Frederick, I respect you, but the problem is that was probably the most casual statement I've ever heard, because Terence Bud Crawford fights at 147 pounds. How does Terence Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, you know, even fight? Canelo can't go below 160, and Crawford, his maximum is probably 147. So at the end of the day, these guys will never fight because their weights don't add up. And so at the end of the day, that was just a dumb comment. Let's keep it going. Mary Russell says, no Wilder or Spence, you bias all the way. And so leaving these guys out of the pound for pound conversation. We've already debunked Spence, knowing that his resume is full of holes, small fighters, and, you know, damaged fighters, and even a robbery. But then if you look at Deontay Wilder, you look at a robbery against Tyson Fury where he was thoroughly dominated. He doesn't deserve to be the WBC champion. And then aside from that, he's beat up on nothing but tomato cans his whole career. He doesn't get credit for fights that he never fought. He never fought an Anthony Joshua. He never fought a Povetkin. He never fought a Klitschko. He had an opportunity to fight literally each one of these fighters, and he passed. He had an opportunity to fight the Dillian Whites, and he passed. So at the end of the day, it's his own fault that he's not a pound for pound worthy fighter. Let's keep it going. Cassius Clay 8732 says, y'all push any narrative to downplay this man's accomplished. That's Errol Spence. He said, you say unbiased, but it's a lie. Who's Bud's best win? See, it's okay for you and your fans to say Canelo isn't ducking Andre Charlo, but, and I quote, neither has a meaningful win over an opponent. Truth be told, neither does Bud, but y'all don't see that because of the hate for Spence. Shaking my head. Y'all too old to be hating on another man. So let's just debunk Cassius Clay's biased narrative. And the first thing is, you see that we don't hate, we give you truth. And you know, and we're going to be honest, truth is the new hate. And let me explain to you why. Because I give you nothing but facts and you just don't accept them. It's not my fault that you don't accept the truth, but I'll give it to you anyway. And the truth of the matter is, Terence Crawford is a pound for pound top 3 regarded across the board fighter Demetrius Andre and Jamal Charlo are not even pound for pound fighters. Terence Crawford was undisputed in a weight class, something that neither Jamal Charlo or Demetrius Andre has accomplished. Your comparison makes zero sense because of those points. But Crawford did fight, a Yuriorkis Gamboa at the prime point in his career, an undefeated fighter in Gamboa, a Gamboa where many people thought he would lose, and he got the victory. He fought a Victor Postol, where many people thought Postol would run through Terence Crawford. You see, the funny thing is, after Crawford beats a guy, he gets no credit for it. But before he fights him, they build him up to be like he's going to be a huge test for Crawford. You have to make up your mind. And we just have to be honest and unbiased. And as far as the Spence ducking, that's obvious ducking. Spence, was called out to his face and stated he wanted to take an easy road. The PBC and Fox executive came out recently and said they have many fights ahead of Terence Crawford before they even consider that. So it's obvious they don't want any parts of Terence Crawford. They don't even recognize his belt. It's a classic case of ducking, and the only thing you're doing is fanboying for Errol Spence. But once again, unbiased as always, it's the IBFP.